I always thought that love meant I needed to sacrifice myself. I needed to give all of me in order to earn the love of somebody else. And nothing I ever did was good enough. Nothing I ever did was enough to earn their love. I always thought that love was conditional. Thought that as long as I was keeping them happy and doing enough good things for them and being good enough, that would make me deserving of love. Hi guys, my name is Kinsey. If you're new here, this is a channel where we talk about healing and trauma and toxic relationships. I give tips and tricks on what I have learned, what I have gone through, and what healing is to me, and how I can help you through what you're going through. Today I want to talk about how I went through the transformation of learning that love is not conditional, but we're all deserving of love. And I want to talk about the point that I went from learning that I had been in survival mode my entire life when it comes to viewing love, and when I started viewing love from a sovereign point of view. If you like content like this, if this resonates with you, if you are on your healing journey, please subscribe. I share videos like this every week. I love to help people heal themselves, work through trauma, and just learn to love themselves. So I would love to have you along on your healing journey. I was in a relationship that quite literally nearly destroyed me physically, emotionally, mentally, but I tried so hard to make him love me, and the harder that I tried, the more that he treated me poorly. And this wasn't just the case with him, this was the case with the toxic relationship that I had had before him, and pretty much any relationship that I had had. You know, I had only had a handful of serious relationships, but any relationship that I'd ever had, it's the same pattern, and it stems back to childhood. I have a few videos that touch on this topic, but the first few years of your life really set the tone for how you expect love to be, what you're comfortable with love being. So what you grow up in the first 5 to 7 years of your life experiencing as love is what you find normal and your nervous system finds normal. And then when you grow up, whatever's normal or familiar to you is what you set as the standard for love as a relationship or with your family. So for me, when I was growing up, love was very conditional. Love was not something that was something I felt safe in. I didn't feel safe being loved emotionally. I didn't feel safe that somebody was going to constantly be there. I didn't feel safe to just have love no matter what. Love wasn't just there. And so coming into relationships as an adult, from the love that I received from my parents, my dad was an abusive alcoholic and very not there. He was very absent. And then my mother was emotionally not there, and the love was very conditional with her. And so growing up, that is what the standard was for my relationships. Obviously, I didn't know that until I was out of this relationship. So I was constantly trying to earn love. And then when these people would treat me poorly, because I loved them, I would keep that so silent. Not only would I keep that silent, but the more that they would treat me poorly, the harder I would try to prove to the world that they were good people. So any minuscule nice thing that they would do to me, I would blow out of proportion. Like, oh my gosh, he bought me a soda at the gas station. Isn't he just the sweetest? You know, I'd be posting on my Snap stories, stupid things like that. The bare minimum. Or like I would pay for something and then like post it like he bought it from, you know, things like that, where it's like, that is just nothing. That is the bare minimum. Meanwhile, I was going out of my way. I was spending every cent I had on this person. I was wasting every hour of my day trying to make them happy. I would stay up all night trying to do nice things for them. I would be giving them nice surprises. I would be cleaning the house for them. I would be leaving them little notes everywhere. I would, you know, at one point, one of, not my most recent ex, but the one before him, out of the two, my other toxic relationship, he was in prison, and every spare cent I had, I was putting on his prison books instead of, you know, things that I needed or my bills. I was always having like really, really broken down cars, and I was driving them like 3 hours away to go visit him for a half hour in prison. I would do all of these crazy, crazy things for people who treated me very poorly and did not respect me at all. But I was trying so hard to earn their love. I would always call myself broken. Looking back after I first got out of those relationships, I'm like, I was just so broken. but I wasn't broken. I was still becoming who I am now. And I don't think it's a good term to call yourself broken, or to say, I have these things I need to fix about myself, because that implies that you're broken, and we're not broken. There's nothing broken about us. We are healing, and we are becoming the versions of us that we want to be, right? My last relationship really, really, really destroyed me. And I share a lot about this on my channel, because I think it's so important to speak on this, because I know I was so not only quiet about it for the duration of that relationship, but I kept it hidden, and I lied about how bad things were. I tried so hard to make people like him. And that's what's scary about people like him, is they have a whole other personality to the public than they do behind closed doors. So everyone believed it because he was so nice in public. But that's why I advocate so hard on my channel about all of this stuff, is because I think it's important. But I really lost myself in this relationship, and I was coming at love from a point of how I viewed it as a child. I was coming at love from a very unhealed point of view, as, I need to earn it. Every time he would shoot me down and offend me and hurt my feelings and call me names, then I would just try harder and harder and harder to earn his love. And it's like, looking back, girl, how much can you take? I took so much emotional, verbal, physical abuse from this person and kept trying. I was so resilient in trying to earn his love. And it's like, if my child was in that situation, I would never, ever, ever stand for that. So why did I let myself go through that? And like, looking back, because now I'm going through this thing where I'm trying to reparent my inner child, and I would never let her go through that. I would never want that for her. And so I am trying to look back at it as a point of, she didn't deserve that, and I don't deserve that. I deserve so much better than that, and you deserve so much better than that. And I don't want people to regret their relationships, because that was another thing, is I had regretted dating him for a little bit. When I first got out of the relationship, I kind of regretted it, but I don't now, because, we all have a divine path and a divine purpose. I would constantly be so beaten down. I'd constantly be crying, and like, he would watch me cry and continue to eat the dinner that I made him while I'm sobbing, and he'd be calling me names and just like eat dinner and watch TV like nothing was happening, as I'm bawling because he just called me all these rude names and said all these rude things to me. And then the next day I would keep trying to make him happy. Like, that's not somebody who loves and respects themselves. And I think somewhere deep down I did know, or at least learned at some point, that wasn't right. When my children I could see that they saw what was happening. And then there was a time where I kind of looked at myself in the mirror while I was like sobbing. And I really stopped and looked at myself, and I realized, like, I don't know who I am anymore. I've lost so much weight. I was so sickly looking. I was so depressed. I couldn't tell you like what I liked to do, because I used to have all these hobbies. I used to do art, and I used to go for like all these adventures with my kids, and I used to do all of these things. And then at this point I was like, I could not tell you one thing that I like to do, because I'm always cleaning and taking after the kids and working, and that's it. I could not tell you one thing that I like to do for me, just by myself. I had no hobbies. I had no nothing for me. When I finally gave in to the universe and said, okay, I'm ready, because I feel like for a while the universe kept giving me signs that it's time to stop, it's time to love yourself, it's time to walk away, it's time. And I wouldn't. I was so determined to give my kids this family, to give my kids what I never had, because I wanted to give them a family that was in one home. And like, we had just moved into a house together, so like, I wanted to give my kids a house, because we had always lived in apartments, and all of these things. So I was like refusing to give in. And then finally things started getting really, really bad, and I still wouldn't give up. And then I finally, one day he said or did something so bad, and I sat with the universe, and I was like holding my baby, looking outside, and I'm like, okay, I give up. I'm ready. I don't know what's gonna happen next, but whatever it is, I'm gonna roll with it, and I'm just gonna trust that everything's gonna be okay. Knowing that, like, I have nothing. I have no money. I'm gonna be a single mom of 4 children. I have no support system. I have, nothing. I have no family. I have no, anywhere to go. I had nothing. But I was like, okay, whatever. And like, I didn't just like outright leave, goodbye. But the universe granted me that night an opportunity to leave, and it was very messy, very toxic. There is a video on somewhere on my channel that you can watch that. Maybe I'll link it in the description if you're interested in watching that. But you know, I saw the opportunity that the universe gave me. I knew that that's what it was. Very scary leap, and I could feel something rising for the weeks leading up to this. I took the leap. Then after that, I had to sit with, oh my God, okay, so now what do I do? Like, this whole change just happened, and I like was realizing that you know, because then I took a deep dive down healing and was realizing, okay, I'm loving from a point of view of somebody who is, you know, my point of view of love was from a child who didn't get the correct form of love. That was how I was coming at all of these relationships, was from a child who was, you know, being neglected emotionally and physically, and, you know, always being abandoned, and nobody had time for her, and she was alone, and her mom was always working, and when her mom wasn't working, she didn't, you know, give her the emotional needs, or her emotional needs weren't met. So that's how, you know, that form of love that I grew up finding normal is how I was in relationships, and that's not how relationships should be healthy, you know. And when you are broken, even though I don't like that term, that's what you seek out, right? And so then, even though I was on my healing journey, he was not on his healing journey. So then I started healing, and it was so messy. It really was. Healing journey, I feel like, has this beautiful connotation to it, and everyone's like, oh, this, you know, beautiful healing journey, which, yes, okay, it is, but like, it's not. You know, healing in general, yes, it's a very beautiful thing. We all should heal ourselves and do the healing work. However, it is very messy. It's hard to do the work, and that's why, like, a lot of people don't do it, is because it is painful to go through it, because you do have to bring up the trauma in order to heal it. You have to feel it to heal it, right? And so I was doing this healing work afterwards as I'm processing this crazy life transition, right? And I was learning that I never loved myself. I learned from a young age that I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of people's attentions. I am not worthy of anything. And that's why I'm always chasing the validation, and I'm always chasing, you know, the attention and chasing the love, because I never felt it. I never got it. I never felt that way about myself. And so until I learned to love myself, I was never going to be loved by anybody. I started meditating, which I had never been able to do, and everyone, you know, that I talked to is like, oh, I'm not able to meditate. Me either. I could never focus. Guided meditations were so helpful to me. I highly recommend. But I started meditating. I started doing yoga every day. I started creating a schedule for myself. While I'm going through all of these things, while I'm moving and trying to find a house, that was so hard for me, because where I live, there's no housing. While I was trying to figure out daycare, because I had no one to watch my kids. While I was trying to figure out parenting by myself, which I kind of already was doing anyways, but anyway, while I was going through all of these things and healing from a domestic violence incident and all of this stuff, I was learning how to love myself. I was learning how to reparent my inner child. I was learning how to find a healthy way to look at love and relationships. Healing isn't linear. So like, some days I felt really good. Some days I felt like I was making, you know, leaps in my healing journey, and that I was doing so good. I was having all these aha moments and like learning so much about myself. And then there's other days where I like struggled to even get out of bed, and I would forget to eat for 2 days, and I was so depressed. And like, that's how healing goes. Healing is not a linear path. It is difficult, and it takes work and effort, and it takes consistent movement forward in order to, you know, make this progress, because it's not easy. But I learned to sit with myself, especially on those hard days, and not abandon myself, because that's when I needed myself the most. That's when I needed the love the most, because I didn't have anybody to give it to me. I didn't have anybody to sit with me. I didn't have anybody to show me the love the way that I needed to. It was me, myself, and I in that situation. And even if you do have the people who are there to sit with you and love you in those situations, they're never going to be able to give you the love that you need within yourself in order to heal those things. Even if you had a wonderful childhood, you still have healing that you need to do, and you need to dig deep and find it. even if your parents loved you very much and were so amazing to you, there's still things that need to be healed inside of you. We all have healing that needs to be done. That's not saying that your parents did things, bad to you, but there could have been things that happened at school, or, your dog dying as a kid, or moving schools, or losing friends. Things happen as a kid that mold you and stick with you and form a certain viewpoint that you carry with you to adulthood, that forms the way that you look at the world as an adult, and you need to heal that and reform the way that you view things from an adult lens in a healthy way. Otherwise, you're going to continue to have problems your entire life. Through my healing journey, I discovered the power of boundaries and how important they really are and how to have them. I've never been able to have a single boundary in my whole life until I had this happen. I discovered the power of feminine energy and feminine healing, and how powerful I really am when I started putting what I was learning into myself. I was so proud of myself every time I would put these things into work, and people started noticing. People at my work and my friends and my coworkers and customers at my work were noticing a change in me and how my energy was different, and I shifted, and you couldn't even tell that I had just gone through this serious traumatic event. It was really, really crazy. And through all of this, I learned that I meant to teach others to do the same thing. I have learned that if I didn't know these things, that there are thousands of other people who also didn't know these things. And that's why I feel so called to help other people learn what I learned, because if I didn't know that and I was able to figure it out and learn and become so much happier and healthier and live such an abundant, amazing life, then I can teach others to do the same, and maybe they can teach others to do the same, or they can live a happier life, and it can keep going. But I know that it starts with me. I am also really excited to announce that I am creating a course called Reclaim Your Power. It is a 5-module course, and I am getting ready to release it. I will have that date soon, so stay tuned for that. Other than that, if you got anything out of this video, please let me know down below. If you're just starting your healing journey, or if you've been on your healing journey, I invite you to subscribe. I love to have you along on the journey. Other than that, please like, comment, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.